week 3, was so crazy, I can't even think of a specific topic for this video. So I guess I'm just gonna start off with my job this week. So Team 2, my team, worked in the Pocahontas building. So the jobs in the Pocahontas building consisted of doing mail deliveries, working committee operations, working in Senate finance, and working on the information desks on the 5th and 6th floor where the senators' offices are. I worked in Senate finance this week, and I'll show you in this next picture that's going to pop up, but it's at the very top floor of the Pocahontas building. It's on floor 14. To be honest, working in the Senate Finance Committee as a page is not too exciting because the only jobs you get to do consist of shredding paper pretty much and delivering letters to senators' offices. But the things that go on in the Senate Finance Committee are pretty intriguing. For example, the Senate Finance Committee is the only committee to have full-time staff, full-year staff. That's what I mean by that. And a lot of senators come up and want to check out the committee area and try to get paperwork and stuff. While I was shredding paper, actually, Senator Norman, the majority floor leader, came up and said good morning to me and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Charlie, do you know what time of the week it is? It's Story of the Week time. Look at you, all patriotic. So for this week, I don't only have one story, I have 2 stories. So the first one is Mrs. Mays, the manager of the Senate Finance Committee, came running out, and she's like, "The First Lady of Virginia is coming! The First Lady of Virginia is coming!" So she told everybody to start cleaning up, and I was just freaking out and stuff. But the First Lady of Virginia came at 10:35, and I had to leave at 10:30 to go back to the page room. So I was really sad because I didn't get to meet her, but I was this close to meeting her. But I'll get to meet her February 4th, and I'll tell you guys all about that in that week's video. So my second story is that in the Senate Finance Committee, you have to do a lot of shredding papers. So that was pretty much what I did most of the time when I had an errand. So every now and then, there would be a red thing that would pop up, and it would be open up the trash can in the shredding machine and then compress it. So I would do that and it would work and it would keep letting me shred. So I had gotten through all the papers, and as a courtesy, I just wanted to compress it for the next person. So I opened the shredding machine, I take it out, and all the paper just flies out and it goes everywhere and nobody saw it. I was just freaking out. Also, this past week, we went to the Federal Reserve of Richmond. So there are 12 Federal Reserves scattered all throughout the United States, and Richmond is home to one of them. The Federal Reserve is there to regulate our money flow so that we don't run into problems like inflation or deflation. So each Federal Reserve is associated with a letter and a number. So for example, this $2 bill is from Richmond since it has the E and a 5. That's the combination for Richmond. So if you look at your dollar bills or your money, or notes is another word for money in the Federal Reserve language, if it has E5 on it, it's from Richmond. At the Federal Reserve, we got some shredded up money because they also make sure money is in good quality, like dollars and stuff, when they get deposits from banks and stuff. And there was a scavenger hunt, and I won it, and I got a economy shirt. Kind of funny. Also, we got to go to where all the notes are stored, which is 3 levels below ground level, and that's exclusive access. So for part 2 of this video, I will be talking about the executive and judicial branches within the Constitution of Virginia. So under the executive branch, the person who's in charge of it is named the governor. So currently our governor is Ralph Northam. So the governor can pardon people in the state of Virginia. He is supposed to enact the laws faithfully, and he's supposed to review bills that are passed by both the House and Senate. It's similar to the President of the United States, except at a state level. As mentioned in week 1's video, once a bill is passed by both the Senate and House, it goes in front of the governor. So the governor has 7 days to either veto the bill, which means it's kind of rejected by him and it goes back to the General Assembly. He can amend or substitute it, or he can sign it and it becomes a law. The General Assembly can override a veto, though, so they have to have a certain amount of votes to do that, though. As mentioned in last week's video, Senator Ebbin was a patron of a bill proposing that the governor should not only be able to serve 1 term, but should be able to serve 2 terms consecutively. I say the word consecutively because right now, like written in the Constitution of Virginia, a governor can only serve 1 term. They can serve another term, but it has to be after another governor served. So they can't serve it 2 terms in a row. They can serve 2 terms apart, like not next to each other. It was just really cool how I was there when something like a bill was proposed to amend something in the Virginia Constitution. So the other branch we analyzed under the Constitution of Virginia was the judicial branch. So some key things noted were that there are 9 justices that make up the Supreme Court of Virginia. So they use something called judicial review to decide if a controversy is constitutional or unconstitutional according to the Virginia Constitution. Not the federal Constitution, the Virginia Constitution. Also, Virginia is pretty unique. At the federal level, the president is the one who appoints the justices. But in Virginia, the General Assembly, they elect the justices. As mentioned in last week's video, I was there when the justices were elected, and that was pretty cool because that only happens every 12 years because they have a 12-year term. So I thought that was pretty cool. This week in professional development, we learned all about the local government. So first of all forms of local government are tools of the state. The 3 forms of local government in the Commonwealth of Virginia consist of counties, cities, and towns. So towns are like little parts of counties, and they just have their own government, but they're still within the county. It's kind of weird. But cities are independent from counties and all of those things. It's independent. It has its own government and like local government and everything. So we are a Dillon rule state, meaning that for anything to pretty much get done within our local governments, they have to go to the state, to the General Assembly, and get it approved, like what they want to do. And yeah, we're one of the few states to be a Dillon rule state, and that's what makes Virginia unique. Today in the Commonwealth of Virginia, there are 190 towns, 95 counties, and 38 cities. In fact, there are only 41 independent cities in all of the United States, and 38 are located here in Virginia. So within towns and cities, there are 2 types of local governments, or 2 types of like how they run their government. So there is the council manager form, which is where the council members of the city vote for a manager, and they will be in charge of administrative duties and all of those things. The other form of government is the mayor council. So that form of government is where the mayor is the head of administrative duties. Some examples of a mayor council government consist of Alberta and Brunswick County and Boynton in Mecklenburg County. So a city that uses the mayor council government would be Richmond, and that is the only one of the 38 independent cities that operates under this form of government. Do you guys hear that? It's question time! So, whoever gets this question first, or right first, will win this Virginia Beach pin. So this week's question is, what is the only city in the Commonwealth of Virginia to have a mayor council form of government? With counties, there are 7 forms of government. So The most common one is the traditional form. So under that form, there is a county administrator and 5 other constitutional officers that are required. So they are the Commissioner of Revenue, the Treasurer, the Commonwealth's Attorney, the Sheriff, and the Clerk of Circuit Court. The local government is so important because that government provides us with libraries, recreation, sports, schools, a lot of the things you can think of in your every day-to-day life. It's question and answer time! So, I think I answered all of your questions in this video except one very important one, and it is, are they feeding you well? So, that leads into next week, because next week we're learning all about budgeting, and we have to create our own meal plan, with money and stuff, and how much we're going to spend today, and we have to make those choices on what we eat and stuff, and I try to balance out my meals by getting fruit and I don't know, maybe occasionally a drink, but yeah, the food's pretty good at the Capitol, and the dinner places, the restaurants around our hotel are pretty good. Remember, if you have any questions about this video or throughout this week about what I do, please ask them to Mrs. Wiesenbeck, and she will be sure to report them to me for next week's video. Bye, and have fun in school!